Hello, everybody. All right, happy Friday, everybody. Today um is Friday, January the 17th, 2025. And I want to thank Rex for his early message and like earlier. Apparently, he did this morning, I guess. Thumbs up, everyone. Well, thank you, Rex, for that. No, you're not here now, but all right, so we're gonna obviously I'm gonna give it a few minutes, give it a couple minutes before I give everybody a chance to come in and say hi before we talk about what's on tap for tonight. So while we're waiting here, of course, was watching some cartoons earlier. Actually saw a piece I saw one of the shorts I was watching. I saw earlier was a Mickey Mouse short that originally was not meant for the was not originally produced for the public, but was later released later to the public. Was the parade of nominees of 1932 Academy Awards, in which Mickey Mouse had led a grand marshal, a parade of celebrities who had been nominated for the Academy Awards that year. We also had a chance to watch a couple other silly symphonies. Got to see a little bit of Louis Armstrong in a Betty Boop cartoon. Betty Boop is really, in the year or two just prior to the Hayes Code coming into effect, you know, you know, Betty Boop is really becoming a breakout, was becoming a breakout star, 32 and 33, before the Hayes Code went into effect. Let's see. All right. Well, now we're coming up on 3 minutes here, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. So we got like three articles we're gonna go over. Kind of, one's pretty short. The other two are about, decent size. Not too big, not too small. So we're gonna a couple of the articles are from Bleeding Fool, and then the last one will be from Me TV Tunes. So the articles we're gonna go over tonight. One of them is talking about how some of the comic creators have been impacted. How the comic creators have been impacted by the LA wildfires. Also, the article we'll be talking about after that, of course, will be how Diamond's bankruptcy and the comic, talking about Diamond's bankruptcy and the comic book industry's uncertain future. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about also another art. The last article was due from MeTV Tunes site, in which they had acknowledged that apparently Michael Jackson, the pop singer Michael Jackson, the king of pop, apparently they were considering having him make an appearance in the Tom and Jerry movie. So we'll be looking at that article as well. So with that being said, and of course we'll also have the wrestling wrap up. Get you all caught up on on all the latest in terms of professional wrestling news. Looking back to, of course, last night's go home Impact before this Sunday's Genesis. We'll be looking ahead also to tonight's SmackDown, a little over a week ahead of their next Saturday night's main event show. Looking ahead to tomorrow night's Collision, and of course this Sunday, as we said, looking ahead to this Sunday's Genesis pay-per-view from TNA, as well as there's a show coming up from New Japan celebrating Yuji Nagata's 40th anniversary in the business. So supposedly. So And then, of course, we'll wrap things up with this day in news history. So, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and let's get ready to get started here. And if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, let me just do one more thing here. Let's see if we can. All right, so let's get into the articles here. And as I said, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, let's get into this. All right, so this first article here. Comic creators impacted by the LA wildfire disaster, article by Avi Green, published yesterday. So let's get into this. Wow, look at that. Look at that. Yikes. Let's see. Have there been any comic writers, artists who were hit hard by the Los Angeles wildfire disaster that obliterated several neighborhoods, particularly in areas like Pacific Palisades? As Jimmy Palmiotti announced, one example is an illustrator named Andrew Robinson. Then I guess Jimmy coming out saying, "Help us help Andrew Robinson. He lost his home, his art supplies, and his art in the fires. Just heartbreaking. Every amount counts." So I guess they're support Andrew Robinson's art and recovery, organized by Jessica Robinson. My name is. I'm starting this fund for my brother Andrew. Jessica Robinson needs your support. So apparently there's a GoFundMe thing they're doing. So everyone that comic people look out for their own. All right. So I'm very sorry to learn of Mr. Robinson's terrible situation. Hope he'll be able to recover what he sadly lost. Anybody who wishes to help him can donate to the crowdfunding page Palmiotti linked to. So let me grab that. I'll grab that page, and then if you guys want to So if you guys want to give this guy a helping hand, I'll put the link up here. All right, so there it is right there. It's a pretty lengthy one. Again, if you guys want to help him out, there's the link. Feel free to give him a hand there if you can. If you feel like doing so. All right, so now let's that one was a pretty quickie one. So, anyways, now we'll move on to the next article. And this one's going to be a little bit longer here. And as I said, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Well, Diamond's bankruptcy and the comic book industry's uncertain future, article by Chris Braley, published earlier today. So this, of course, is one of the two big stories that's been going on in comics the last, few days, last week or so. This one, and then Neil Gaiman. There's another follow-up Neil Gaiman story on here as well, but I'll do that one on Monday. As that one is going to take pretty much an entire show to go over, because that one looked like it was a pretty big one. So I'll probably cover that one on Monday. But anyways, here we go with this. All right. Diamond Comic Distributors' recent filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy has sent shockwaves through the comic book industry, raising serious concerns about the future of the direct market. The company's financial troubles are significant, with creditors owed an estimated high 8-figure sum, potentially reaching over $60 million. Wow. When accounting for all publishers and vendors involved, the dire situation totals to approximately $31,745,394.39 owed to their top 30 non-secured creditors, with Penguin Random House topping the list at $9.2 million owed. PHR, Penguin Random House, sub-distributes Marvel Comics, Dark Horse Comics, and IDW Entertainment's books to Diamond. The bankruptcy filing poses a significant threat to most of the small and medium-sized comic book publishers and retailers, typically found in the back half of the monthly previews catalog. Diamond has long been one of the few viable nationwide distribution options for smaller press comics, and its potential demise could severely limit access to a wide range of products, including toys, statues, and novelty items. The monthly previews catalog, a cornerstone of the industry, brings together diverse products and publishers, and there are concerns about who might step up to fill this current role if Diamond falters. All right. So for creditors and smaller publishers, the situation looks particularly grim. The absence of Diamond could mean fewer opportunities for unproven talent and niche publications to reach the market. Some industry insiders are pointing fingers at DC Comics for their role in precipitating this crisis, while others are exploring contingency plans for events like Free Comic Book Day, which Diamond has been instrumental in organizing since 2002. Not to mention their comic shop locator service, and retail services like Comic Suite, in parentheses, their point of sale software, and Pull List, in parentheses, an online pre-order platform. While many comic shop owners can give you a list of Diamond's failures, they have to give them credit for regularly supporting comic shops and the hobby during difficult times. And we get of course some young ladies here cosplaying. It's the obvious one of the one on the far left there is Harley Quinn. Hard to tell who the other two are, but so as a struggling industry grapples with these new challenges, there's a palpable sense of uncertainty about the future. While Chapter 11 bankruptcy indicates an intent to reorganize and continue operations, the potential ripple effects on the direct market are causing significant anxiety, which is true because obviously whenever you have something like this happen, it's going to throw everything into a into a tumbler, and you just have to hope that you can come out of that tumbler, in one piece without being like shaken to pieces. Um, see. All right. All right. So, all right. I just trying. The lack of a clear replacement for Diamond services, combined with the limitations of alternate distributors like Penguin Random House and Lunar, leaves many in the industry bracing for a period of turbulence and potential contraction in the comic book market. Remember, Marvel Comics was buried under $610 million in debt, with its stock price plummeting when they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in late 1996. Took new leadership, financial discipline, and strategies, and the ability to leverage their properties to get out of it. Disney is unlikely to buy Diamond anytime soon, and Diamond also doesn't really have any IP to exploit. But I'm hopeful Chapter 11 won't be the end of them either, which sometimes can't be. You know, if for whatever reason, even despite all their efforts, they still can't get back on their feet. Because usually, as I guess Chris was just pointing out in the article here, Chapter 11 is meant to help you basically get back on your feet when you've been struggling, and it gives you a pause to kind of like, okay, now I'm in trouble here. How do I get out of it? So, but anyway, I think as time moves on, we'll probably see what comes of that. So, with that now, let's get ready to move on to the last article that we'll be going over tonight here. So I get over to MeTV Tunes, as it were. The story here, when I was looking up stories, just caught my attention, obviously. Especially for those who grew up in the '80s, this would have been a very interesting scenario. All right, so here we go. So According to this, Michael Jackson was almost in Tom and Jerry the movie. Michael Jackson loved cartoons. They're just like us. Article published earlier today by Media. Now, of course, who they're talking about here is on the far right there, Michael Jackson, the King of Pop. Not to be confused, Michael Jackson, the character actor. Talking about Michael Jackson, of course, as has been noted over the years, and which led to some of the accusations that were levied against him during his lifetime. Some people would argue Michael Jackson, in his own right, was just a kid who just never grew up. So let's go ahead and get into this article here. All right, so two titans at the tops of their games had a meeting in 1992 that could have changed cartoon history forever. In one corner, you have Joe Barbera, co-creator of Hanna-Barbera Animation Empire, Hanna-Barbera, and creator of hundreds of beloved classic cartoons. And in the other corner, you had was his biggest fan, Michael Jackson. They were meeting to discuss Jackson potentially voicing a character in the upcoming feature film for Tom and Jerry. Now, some of you might be asking, well, why? Wait a second. Hanna-Barbera, did they actually do? They actually did Tom and Jerry? Yes, they did. Before William Hanna and Joe Barbera went off to found Hanna-Barbera Productions, they worked for MGM Cartoon Studios, and among, of course, the characters they helped to create was Tom and Jerry. So a lot of the Tom and Jerry cartoons from the 40s and 50s, a lot of that was done by William Hanna and Joe Barbera. So just something it's a little trivia tidbit there for you guys to sink your teeth into. All right, so Tom and Jerry wasn't just any cartoon franchise for Barbera. It was the very first cartoon that he and his professional soulmate, William Hanna, directed together at MGM. Yeah, they were directors on the cartoon. It brought them success, sure, but more importantly, it established them as a powerhouse team in the animation world. This was a very special project, one that needed the King of Pop's special star power. Michael Jackson was a huge cartoon fan. In a 1983 interview with Rolling Stone, Jackson said, quote, "Cartoons are unlimited. And when you're unlimited, it's the ultimate." Which is true because you can, we've seen it. If you've ever watched, right? If you've ever watched, particularly any of the shorts you can see just what they can do with the animation, right? Not just with the artwork, but also with the stories, and with, particularly some of the slapstick, or the wild takes and the big eyes and all that, what they can get away with a lot in animation too, right? Like for example, Bugs Bunny pulling Elmer's pulling Elmer's cap all the way down over his whole body, or Daffy Duck getting his face blasted off without actually dying, right? Or like, let's say somebody like Tom being cut to pieces and being, and in one case being having being shredded up by a lawnmower, only to end up being part of a part of a clothesline where you had a bunch of what looked like a bunch of pajamas in place. So just some examples. To what Michael Jackson was saying. So, unquote, Jackson had nearly been in a cartoon himself in 1971. Rankin Bass and Motown Productions co-produced Jackson. Actually, I think he was. Well, all right. I don't. Well, okay. Well, let me, because actually his character was co-produced the Jackson 5, a fictionalized version of the Jackson Family Band. When the show was created, the Jackson 5 were at the height of their success and facing high demands as a band. While Jackson loved cartoons, his touring and recording schedule was too jam-packed to stop and voice act. All right, that's right. So his character was used, but not him himself in it. So, let's see. Jackson and his brothers were played by voice actors. Donald Fullove played Michael. Funnily enough, Diana Ross played herself in the cartoon. Another cartoon opportunity presented itself to Jackson later on in 1987 when Ideal Toys partnered with Jackson to create quote-unquote Michael's Pets. Like Ideal Toys had done with Hanna-Barbera, before the idea of a cartoon to promote the toy line was discussed. Now, mind you, this was around the time they were also trying to crack down on that kind of thing, on which eventually led to the Children's Education Act of 1993, I believe. So let's see. The initial plan was that Michael would play himself, and the main character would be his chimpanzee and inspiration for the toy line, Bubbles. The cartoon series never made it past development. And if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, despite his personal cartoon setbacks, Jackson was an avid collector of all things animation. In a 1987 interview with Rolling Stone, he said, quote, "I'm a collector of cartoons. All the Disney stuff, Bugs Bunny, and the old MGM ones, it's real escapism. It's like everything's all right. It's like the world is happening now in a faraway city. Everything's fine," unquote. Then in 1992, Jackson reached out to Barbera. In his autobiography, My Life in Tunes, Barbera wrote, quote, "Michael Jackson, an avid cartoon buff, contacted me to discuss the possibility of working on some project together. Who could say no? My thought was to make a deal for him to sing a song in the Tom and Jerry feature," unquote. Now, of course, this, I think, was still before, some of the troubles that Michael got into, some of the accusations that were levied against him before all this went down. But then again, also back in 1992, people were not as hypersensitive as they are today about that kind of thing. If what happened with Michael happened today, they would have been like all over trying to cancel him. Barbera drew and signed 5 sketches of Tom and Jerry and gave them to Jackson. Then Jackson pulled a photo of himself and his niece and autographed it for Barbera. The two met 5 times to discuss the project and their mutual love of cartoons. Unfortunately, according to Barbera, Great American Communications, in parentheses, which owned Hanna-Barbera at the time, told Barbera that they had no interest in working with Michael Jackson. Barbera said of Jackson, quote, "My meetings with him were delightful, and I found him to be laid back, courteous, and a gentleman, which is a great deal more than you can say about any number of people in our industry," unquote. The Tom and Jerry movie continued on without Michael Jackson. Hanna-Barbera did not replace Jackson with another rock star or big celebrity. In fact, most of the actors in the film were voice actors who were bringing in viewers with big Hollywood brands. Likely, Barbera wanted to work with Jackson not just because of his star power, but because of his great love and personal connection to cartoons. Now, that it is kind of a shame that Great American Communications, unfortunately, couldn't see the value in what Barbera saw in that, even with what happened later. When you have somebody who is an avid cartoon, person like that, and they want to work with you, and there's somebody who has a star power, it's a very good combination there. It's a very good combination. So it's something that should have been, should have been considered acceptable. Anyway, so let's see. Jackson later wrote to Barbera, quote, "To my hero of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, with many thanks for all the many great cartoon friends you gave me as a child. They're all I had. Michael," unquote. Now, that is a good story right there. Again, despite the allegations that Michael had during his life and all that, that's something, But again, I think a big part of Michael's problem too is that he just ended up being a kid who just never grew up. And unfortunately, sometimes, a lot of times the world just cannot handle that situation. Oh. So now, with all that being said, so we got through, the 3 main stories. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the wrestling wrap-up, because we actually do have quite a bit to talk about tonight in terms of the wrestling wrap-up. As I said, we can go over some stuff, go over the results of, Impact from last night, look ahead to tonight's SmackDown, as well as to look to this weekend's, some of the other stuff this weekend, including Genesis on Sunday and New Japan's show this Sunday. But first out, let's take a look at TNA, at Impact from last night. As last night, of course, was the go home. Last night was the go home Impact before this Sunday's in fact, before this Sunday's Genesis pay-per-view. So on last night's show, of course, Leon Slater defeated Trent Seven in a match in which it continued Slater's momentum towards his goal of trying to become the youngest X Division champion ever. clock is ticking, so you just have to wonder when he's going to get the opportunity to do it. As you know, right now, Ace Austin has the next opportunity at Moose this Sunday. This Sunday's Genesis. We'll talk more about that later. Steve Macklin and Eric Young defeated the team of First Class of AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. Jake Something defeated Laredo Kid, and in the main event, a non-title match, tag team champions, the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, defeated Sami Callihan and PCO in their as they prepare for their upcoming match at Genesis, because I think they do have a title defense at Genesis, but I'll have to double check and look at that. So, anyways, let's move on to Genesis then and take a look at what you can expect from this Sunday's Genesis pay-per-view. We have it coming up this Sunday. So, let me first see if there's things slated for Countdown yet. Well, on the Countdown show to Genesis on Sunday, which will be on YouTube, as Genesis will be taking place from the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, Texas. On the pre-show on YouTube, Frankie Kazarian will be taking on Leon Slater. Again, Slater looks to continue his momentum and trying to become the youngest X Division champion. Also, what led to this match was an incident that happened on, I think it was about a couple weeks ago on Impact, in which Frankie Kazarian tried to put Leon Slater. He claimed that he was trying to mentor him, but basically told him to carry his bags. And of course, Leon Slater did not take too kindly to that idea. So that's what led to this match coming up on the pre-show for Genesis on this Sunday. And now that's on the pre-show. That's slated for the pre-show. And more matches will probably be announced on the pre-show, as it were. As of course, this coming Thursday, the 23rd, will be the first live edition of Impact in a number of years from San Antonio. We'll talk more about that when we get to there. Now the match is slated for the show itself, which will be on Triller TV. Opening up the show, looks like you'll have a tag team battle between former TNA, two-time former TNA tag team champions Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers of the System, taking on Steve Macklin and Eric Young. The Hardys will be defending, as I was right, they are defending the tagging titles. They'll be defending the TNA World Tagging titles against the Rascals of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. In an I Quit match to determine who the standard of TNA is, the Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander, will be taking on Mike Santana. As there are also some rumblings also that Alexander's contract is up sometime this year as well, and there's been interest shown in him by AEW and WWE, from what I understand. And what is believed to be her last contractual obligation with TNA, Jordan Grace will be taking on Tessa Blanchard. And of course, we've been talking a lot about this, as they brought Tessa Blanchard back, much to the chagrin of some of the talent, including Grace. And while Grace is not thrilled at the idea of working with Blanchard, it looks like we'll at least be professional and maybe do the job for her on her way out, as it's been talked about that once Grace's contract. Now, this is still just speculation, but once Grace's contract is up with TNA, WWE will be maybe calling on her. So you may. Now, again, that's speculation at this point. There's nothing confirmed, but this is also believed to be Jordynne Grace's last contractual obligation with TNA. This match right here. In a match for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles, the current champion Spitfire of Danny Luna and Jody Threat will be taking on the By Elegance team of Ash and Heather By Elegance with the personal concierge in their corner. As I mentioned earlier, Moose will be defending the X Division title against Ace Austin. Ace Austin is looking to become a 4-time X Division champion, as well as of course, doing this also for his friend Chris Bay. In a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, the TNA Knockouts World title will be on the line, as Masha Slamovich will be defending the title against Rosemary in this match, and battle of the current and a former Knockouts World champion. And the main event will see Nick Nemeth defending the TNA World title against Joe Hendry. Now, mind you, too, we've also been talking a lot about how TNA, there was also some talk earlier today that there's possibly some more crossovers coming up, as it looks like the WWE has solidified their relationship with TNA. So we got that now. So that's all of the TNA news we have for you. So now let's look ahead to tonight's SmackDown. We'll look ahead to what you can expect on tonight's SmackDown on the USA Network. And I grab that. As, of course, we're still a little over a week away from Saturday night's main event, which will be happening a week from tomorrow, which when we get to that point, we'll be talking about that as well. So on tonight's SmackDown, airing coming from the Pachanga Arena in San Diego, California, slated on the show in a match in a kind of an unofficial tournament final, as it were, to see who gets the next shot at the current WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions DIY. The Motor City Machine Guns, the most recent former champions of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, take on Los Garzas, Angel and Beto, with Elektra Lopez and Santos Escobar in their corner. And also, Tiffany Stratton defends the WWE Women's title against Bayley on tonight's episode of, all this, of course, leading both into next Saturday night's main event. And it was also, I believe, just confirmed earlier today that Shawn Michaels will be at the event next Saturday as well. So you're going to have Jesse Ventura there. You're going to have Hulk Hogan there, albeit they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with Hogan, it looks like, due in part to his, to the reaction he got at the Raw Netflix debut. And then now again, this is going to be in San Antonio, so the reaction might be a little different than was in LA, but I guess we'll wait and see. Guess we will wait and see on that one. So now we will, of course, be looking ahead to tomorrow night's Collision. Tomorrow night's Collision, which will be coming to everybody from the Andrew J. Brady Music Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. Of course, in a Texas death match, Hangman Adam Page takes on the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, and Christopher Daniels' first in-ring action in quite some time, probably about a year or so, as he's been doing more behind-the-scenes stuff of late. In a six-man tag match, the Undisputed Kingdom members of Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong will be taking on Shane Taylor Promotions of Ring of Honor Pure Champion Lee Moriarty, the Infantry of Carly Bravo, and Sean Dean. Top Flight takes on the Martin Brothers. Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin, take on the Murder Machines of Lance Archer and Brian Cage, representing Don Callis' family, in a tag team match. Kazuchika Okada will be defending the Continental title against Tomohiro Ishii. Dustin Rhodes will be taking on Adam Priest in a singles match. Julia Hart will be taking on Harley Cameron. And then in the main event, in a 12-man tag team match, rated FTR of Cope, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler team with Powerhouse Hobbs and the Outrunners of Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum take on the Death Riders trio of Claudio Castagnoli, of AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, along with 2/3 of the AEW World Trios Champion of Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta, and the Learning Tree of Big Bill, Brian Keith, and Chris Jericho. Of course, this match being set up, of course, last week, between the 12 participants of this match, as of course, as this will be Collision's Max and Carnage show, as they continue to build towards Grand Slam Australia. That's all we got for the AEW stuff. Now we have one more piece of wrestling wrap-up business to do. And this Sunday, we already talked about the Genesis pay-per-view from AEW. New Japan will be holding a major event as well this Sunday. New Japan Pro Wrestling. I pull it up here. Of course, coming off of their Battle in the Valley event from last Saturday, this Sunday, from the Chiba Sakura Municipal Gymnasium in Sakura, Chiba, Japan, airing on Samurai TV. New Japan will be hosting the 40th anniversary of Yuji Nagata Blue Justice 15. So matches signed for the opening match, the 6-man tag match, teaming Shoma Kota, Katsuya Miroshima, and Shota Umino, taking on the 3 United Empire members of Francisco Akira, Great O'Khan, and Jacob Austin Young. The TMDK trio of the New Japan Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita, team with Ryohei Oiwa to take on the New Japan's World Junior Heavyweight, the New Japan's Junior Heavyweight Champion El Desperado, along with Tomoaki Homna and Yo of Chaos. In a tag team match, former NWA World Tag Team Champions Tenkoji of Hiroshi Tenzan and Satoshi Kojima taking on the Los Ingobernables de Japan duo of Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi. Another tag team match. Bullet Club members Sanada and Ishimura take on the Just Four Guys duo of Taichi and Taka Michinoku. And another six-man tag match. Los Ingobernables de Japan, represented by Bushi, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji, take on Bullet Club War Dogs of Clark Connors, Kid Kid, and Drilla Mahoney. Bishoman of Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi take on the Mighty Don't Kneel TMDK duo of Hartley Jackson and IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Zack Sabre Jr. And in the main event, in an 8-man tag match, Yuji Nagata will be teaming with the never open weight 6-man tag champions of Oleg Boltin, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Toru Yano to team up against the House of Torture foursome of Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Ren Narita, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi. So that's all I got for the wrestling wrap up for you guys. So with today being Friday, of course, Friday, Friday, January the 17th. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So let me just review it. 2007, 2020, and 05. All right. So first off, we're going to head back 25 years ago, as on this date 25 years ago, back in the year 2000. WWE had its Go Home Raw before that year's Royal Rumble from the New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut. The main event saw a New Age Outlaws of Road Dogg Jesse James and Mr. Ass Billy Gunn, defeating the Big Show and The Rock in a tag team match. Saw Kane defeat Prince Albert. In a match for the WWF Intercontinental Champion, Rikishi Fatu defeated Chris Jericho via DQ. Jeff Hardy defeat Bubba Ray Dudley in a one-on-one in a singles match. And the show opened up with Test defeating Big Boss Man for the WWF Hardcore Championship. So that happened 20 years ago on this date. The Go Home Raw the Go Home Raw before that, the 2000 Royal Rumble, from the New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut. Moving ahead now to the next piece in each history as we move ahead to 2005, 20 years ago today. And on this date, 20 years ago today, in 2005, Magic Bus's Dameko Dobutsu, literally translated as useless animals, premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 2005. So 20 years ago today, Magic Bus's Dameko Dobutsu premiered on Japanese television station Kid Station on this day in 2005, 20 years ago today. So now moving ahead to going on to 2007, on this date in 2007, which was 18 years ago today, on this date 18 years ago today, Tomorrow published the 20th issue of Back Issue from Tomorrow's Publishing. Went on sale on this date back in 2007. Sold for $6.95, was 96 pages. On this date, 18 years ago today, in 2007, 20th issue of Back Issue from Tomorrow's Publishing went on sale on this date back in 2007. And finally, moving on to 2020, 5 years ago today, on this date 5 years ago today, in the world of animation back in 2020. On this date 5 years ago today, Hank Azaria, one of the longtime voices of many characters on The Simpsons, announced that he would no longer be voicing Apu Nahasi P. Patelion on The Simpsons, unless, as stated by him, the show's producers find, quote, some way to transition it or something, unquote. This is, of course, at the whole height of the whole everybody go woke situation. You know, Azaria, like a lot of the actors, a lot of people in Hollywood at the time were signal boosting or whatever, the whole thing where he was deciding, he decided that he did not want to play the character anymore unless they did something different with it. As a way, I guess, so with that though, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here Sunday, and I'll have Rick Piper from Cross Comics with me, as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in April of 1940. This week we'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Lev Gleason. We'll be looking at Silver Street Comics number 5. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.